Welcome, everybody. I'm here with JP. This is the Star Wars graded update for January of 2026. I can't believe this is a new year, JP. We're still going at this. This has been a very interesting year for graded and collectibles in our little corner in space. A highlighted year, of course, hitting over 1,000 members. And we'll certainly talk about that. We're going to talk about the contest from last month, the contest categories in upcoming months. We're also going to talk round the horn with what's going on with the group and some graded stats, whatnot, as well as our kind of hot takes on the fourth quarter update shared by Board Matt recently, and we'll wrap it up there. So let's get into it. December, Hoth was the theme. Wow. What a month, right? This is a great category. A lot of people get excited about Empire Strikes Back, Hoth, the Snow Scene. Lots of graded cards out there in this category. We could probably talk about this for a while, but we got some great turnout, and that's what we were hoping for, and that's what we got. Let's kick it off here. Low ball, right? I'm going to talk briefly about the we had 3 submissions, but Luke Fritz got second place runner-up with his PSA 8 Wampa and PSA 7 Ord Mantell. Interesting submissions, but our first place will go to Colt Driver. He had a Han with blaster rifle PSA 6 and a Dash Rendar foil PSA 8.5. So getting the low one there. Congrats, Colt. Because you won the low ball category and because JP and I have a soft spot for the low ball category, you will be winning Commander Luke Skywalker PSA 8. I don't know if you can see that. Great. And we will send that out to you. So congrats on that. Unique category. We had a bunch of stuff going down in there. I guess I got to get some notes from JP on here. We were discussing all the different unique categories in here. There are certainly things that we consider along with population, but there were some other great points that JP had called out in terms of the pairings of the cards that were put in this category this month. JP, tell us about some of those brilliant pairings that we saw that made this much more difficult.
Right. Now, I'm really impressed with this month's submission. You guys did a great job. Thank you for the competition, you guys competing. After I was looking at kind of how all the cards were matching up, I didn't know if you guys did it on purpose, but I was looking at the historical factor and the themes about how they were run through the movies and everything. And I'm going to say we had a third place. It was Kyle. Kyle had a great submission, but we're looking at the kind of a tie for second place. There's all kinds of interesting things to talk about this one. So I'm going to start with Taylor Armstrong. Now, Taylor Armstrong, he tied for second. He had an HGA 8.5 Rogue 3 and a PSA Commander Wedge Antilles. Now, this is a great pilot to combat vehicle match. Great job. It's got the Hoth theme, super unique. It just screams everything Empire Strikes Back, Battle of Hoth. So thank you for that submission. It was really good, super, super good with your choice. The other person that tied for second place was Brian Emery. Now, Brian Emery had the PSA 9 Japanese Blizzard 2 and also PSA 9 Japanese Rogue 3. These are the combat vehicle Walker battle match. These are the two that fought each other, and that's one of the epic scenes that you see in the Battle of Hoth. So good job for your submission on Brian Emery. But the winner has to go to Cam. Cam did a great job. It was hard to wrap my mind around it. It's crazy because he's got the super. I mean, everybody's starting to get into the grading service. CGC 9 Japanese Walker Garrison, the white border.
Yeah, the 2-player set.
and I've got a note here. It says there's also something wrong on the label. So on the label, it says Premier.
An error.
There's even something wrong with the label. And on top, that's just one card. The other card was the PSA 8 R3PO sealed pack corrected mail-in. Who knows how many are out there? I think I've got the only other one. So, I mean, it doesn't get any stupid crazier than that unique submission for Hoth stuff. So congratulations, Cam. He gets the Blizzard 2, right?
Got Blizzard 2, yep, with your name on it. We'll touch base, Cam.
Good job.
Congrats on that.
Great submissions.
Top category. Whew. Also, another difficult submission, but ultimately, JP, I think we were going back and forth on two candidates who, in other competitions, this would have been like, if they had only been submitted on one or the other, it would have been pretty easy. Now, on one side, we have Robert John, who had some PSA Japanese Hoth cards that were obviously low population, if not population ones, right? And on the other side, we have Will Tarbox with some Reflections PSA 10 foils from Hoth. So this was a doozy, JP. This was a doozy.
Agreed. I mean, we went back and forth. We actually had to have a bit of a meeting before the stream. So
I mean, we always do, but this went longer.
We do. We just kind of get our ducks in a row, and a lot of times it's kind of an easy pick. But there's so much, power behind both of these submissions. It's hard because you guys know how hard it is to do foils. Foils are impossible to get 10s. Whenever I see a 10 foil, I'm just like, everything else aside, that's just a winner. And then on the other hand, you got population one. I mean, Kyle was telling me kind of, what if it was 5 years down the road? Is that product still going to be around? Can anybody else ever match what Robert John is doing? PSA 10s, population ones, Japanese Hoths, that there also is worth discussing. So.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what I'm thinking. Like, okay, there's still a decent amount of Reflections product out there. Granted, that doesn't necessarily mean people who submit in these cards, if they pull them or they have them clean copies, that they would get 10s, right? That's still very impressive. But how many people are open, ripping new Hoth Japanese packs?
Yep.
Pretty much nobody. And if it was, it would probably be myself. And even I, I guess it would have to be pretty special to want to throw $200, $300 down the drain. Because let's be honest, whoever saved those packs, like they pulled something nice and then they put some other aside. They probably didn't put aside the hit boosters. But,
yeah.
I could be mistaken. It does happen from time to time, but for the most part, there's probably going to be junk packs. Like let's be honest here. So unless you have something really clean and in the 90s you were double, penny sleeving, perfect sleeving to top loading to, binder preserving, which nobody was doing. Everyone was shoving them in a box or putting them in those 3-ring binders, which I have lots of regrets on because those obviously affected a lot of my master sets, but it is what it is. So I'm just imagining who else would be able to compete in this category for that 5-year, 10-year down the road. And I think that would be more difficult ultimately because
Agreed.
There is some of that product out there. We know there's Reflections product out there. Now, granted, I have some other thoughts on Reflections in general, but ultimately, Robert John, in my book, I think just squeaked by on this one, just out of its sheer rarity and intensity. Feel free to debate us further on these, but wow, that was tough and great submissions.
Great submissions. I lost like 5 years of my life trying to judge those. So. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it was tough, and I think we've also given a lot of credence to the high-graded foils too. So that also is kind of like. But we have to appreciate rarity where it exists too, and the repeatability of some of this stuff. So we got a Blizzard 1 with your name on it, B. Emery, but we'll be in touch, of course. So congrats on that win.
Robert John,
yes. So congrats on that. And yeah. So upcoming this month, we have non-combat characters, pilots, peaceful living characters. February, Japanese foils. March, Japanese non-foils. April, we have no characters in the cards. No characters. So could be a device, could be an item, could be some random interrupt or something that just doesn't have a character in it. And May, we're going to do cards with force icons. So it could be force icons in the upper left-hand corner, could be force icons in the game text, or it could be force icons elsewhere, light or dark side. But the force icon needs to be in the card itself. So hopefully that opens it up. I mean, of course, everyone's thinking, well, obviously they're on locations. Sure. But we found that location cards don't get graded that often. So
Right.
unless you have a plethora of location cards, you're probably not going to submit that. But there are some cards like Yoda, right? Or Emperor Palpatine, right? Those have force icons in them. There's also some with effects and interrupts that talk about force icons, add a force icon to a location, take one away or stuff like that. So those are all coming into play with that theme. So that is for May. Moving on, group updates. What's been going on around Horn, JP, with the Facebook group?
Yeah, so everything's been kind of a nice month. I'm getting lots of communication from new people that are just getting started in grading. So I'm glad they're reaching out to the group. I'm glad they're reaching out to me. You'll even see just the past week or two, there's been a lot of questions on, hey, I'm going to start grading this. What company should I go with? And it's funny that it's a foil. It always seems that it's a foil. I mean, I feel like I'm not very much help because I'm still a little shy at sending foils in, but keep up the good work. Everybody kind of get your feet wet, start small, start cheap. Look at CGC. They're good value now. Let me see, the growth is still going good, and there hasn't been any scams. We survived the Arena Club guy coming in and trying to spend some money. So as far as the group goes, it's been a good month, and then that's really kind of been a smooth transition or smooth month.
Yeah, we've certainly seen, new members or new people come in and be like, hey, I'm kind of new to this. Like, what do you think I should grade this at, stuff? So there's still some new people kind of getting their feet wet and stuff. And it's good to like bring people in and let them know kind of what we're all about and share this community, because it is pretty good. So if you have the bandwidth to help them answer some questions or help them along, like, definitely do. I mean, of course, JP and I are here to help, but now some of you have been doing this long enough as well, so you kind of have a taste for the different grading companies and the styles and what to look for and what not to waste your time with and stuff like that. So,
yep. Your experiences are valuable,
Yeah.
and especially if you're doing stuff where it's just like you're doing sets for registry, or you're just doing mains, you're just doing ships. So tell them your experiences. This is what I find out. This is what I'm getting. This is who I'm going with. So please reach out when you see somebody. Give them your experience. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Year end, so 2025. So we just had the fourth quarter update, right, from the sealed and graded report, which was fantastic, and I'm sure we all love those.
Love them.
Of course, we have our own 2 cents and afterthoughts on those. I think JP had some different takeaways from what I had as well. But some things that came to mind that I wanted to bring up that I was thinking about was Matt had brought up there is a relatively stable like price point, or if not slightly increasing, but a lower volume of cards actually being sold. And he brought up the fact that people are they're more hesitant to put out to auction. I definitely see that. I definitely feel that. I know when I'm looking up certain cards like Star Wars CCG graded, the amount of auctions is just like really far and few between. It's really a lot of high price point cards with best offers. And a lot of them are like, is that really worth it? Especially looking at we now have some better price point data thanks to Luke Fritz, like doing all that. And I personally don't have a reluctance to doing auctions. I have some that are like super cheap, but that's only because if I listed it for 99 cents, it would sell for 99 cents for sure. Like some of them that are just like junk. Some of them I might give away. But I'm like, you know what? If it's probably like $15-$20. Like if somebody was like, I'll just give that to you, like great. Sure, it's kind of a loss for those sending in, but if they're not really worth that much, then it's not really worth that much. The interesting thing though is the reflections, particularly Reflections 1 foils. I think that was brought up at some point, but at this point, I definitely feel the squeeze in that a lot of people are looking for those in high quality and potentially to grade or find them graded. And the prices of those have just kind of gone through the roof. And really, if you want to get new ones, you gotta buy a new set, or like somebody who's completed a set and hope that it was kept in really high condition.
Exactly.
Or ripping boxes, which, as we know, the Reflections 1 boxes have been creeping up. They're over $1,200. The individual Igar Chow recently had an auction for just an individual pack that after shipping, and God forbid if you had tax, like I don't have tax in Delaware, so I don't see that. But if you had tax, you paid almost $90 for like that one pack. That's wild. That tells me that like people really want these packs with the intention of ripping them. Now, Mark was crazy enough to rip an entire box with me when I ripped that Japanese premiere box as well when we did the 1,000 celebration, but he was nuts to do that. He knows he was nuts to do that, and like that was brutal for him. Like props to him for doing that. I think at this point people are just looking for loose packs to rip and hope they do that, or somebody that may have had the cut sheets like Wild Things Games, but even those prices of the uncommon or the very rare foils, excuse me, have definitely like tripled over the last like few years. And those generally I find are not very well centered. I have a fair amount of those floating around. I remember years ago, I used to buy them in packs for like $30, $40, and then break them up and use them for freebies within bulk sales, like buy big lots and find the stuff I needed, didn't need, and throw them in bulk lots. Like now it's like, oh wait, people are actively looking for these, and I'm having a hard time finding them because I have a Reflections 1 registry set that's close to 50%. But if I want those extra cards, like either I get them and they're going to be a 7 or 8 if I try grading them myself, or I pay a fortune. So I don't really know what it is, but I feel like that's an elephant in the room no one's really talking about. But like I think we're all looking for the same stuff. So I'm feeling that, despite the fact that years ago we were talking about there's such a plethora of Reflections 1 foils out in the ether. Who would be crazy enough to like grade these? Because we know there's thousands and thousands of them available, especially with Wild Things Games, like having, like just stacks and stacks of amount of those. I don't get the feeling like it's as if there are a lot out there, they're not in the level of grade or potential grade that everyone's looking for. But I'm gonna have to just accept the fact that like the sets are probably going to be in the 8s. If you get a few 9s, God forbid a 10, right? But like they're probably all going to be 8s, and like we should probably be happy with that. A lot of the foils just didn't come out that well centered, or they had the lines, and the stuff that's been floating around, a lot of them has scratch marks. It's the surface wear that you can't see unless you get a light and a magnifying glass, which is a pain to do. I know you haven't done many foils, but that's my experience. The majority of them, if I send in a stack that I just randomly get, I'm pretty confident a lot of them are going to come back 7s and 8s.
Right.
With a hand, maybe a 6 in there somewhere, maybe a 9 in there with something nice. But I'm just like, okay, these are all 7s and 8s. So where's the value in that? I don't know yet, but I think we're going to see more people accept the fact that these are okay grades. Like if you get an 8, like that could be something that's packed fresh. It's just, it is what it is.
I absolutely agree with all of that commentary. Now, me personally, I haven't done a lot of foils, but I have been collecting them. I too have purchased a lot from Wild Things, and so I haven't really dove in yet to get them into an inspection stage to where I'm ready and comfortable to send them. I was hoping that our group would have a lot more data for me and have some kind of tricks to have things to look for. But and maybe that's it. Maybe that they're just so hard to grade, and maybe they hold a higher premium. That's what everybody's leaning towards as kind of an easier goal. And I think the generation, a lot of you guys are younger than me. When I got started, I was already 25 or 26 when Premiere came out, and when that came out, I was excited as a young adult. More people kind of got into the game a little bit later. When Reflections came out, that really hit them, in the sweet spot. Everybody just loved those. For me, it was just another expansion set and just loaded up on boxes. But as far as the information that we're talking about is that it wouldn't be possible without Luke. I want to just say thank you again, Luke. We can't like compare back and say, we don't know what the past few years are going, and I feel like they've been grading better or people are collecting them. It's all being stored, it's being tracked, and all the price data is so important that we can have these conversations and go, why is it like that, and why are people leaning towards that, and why is that trending like that? So I'm thankful for this group and community, and please, if you got any questions about grading foils or Reflection One stuff, reach out to the group, and please help me start grading my foils too. So
I'm not going to go for a Reflections 2 or Reflections 3 registry foil set. I've just decided it's too ambitious, and I'm not doing it. I know some people are. Power to them. Happy to help you get there. I've already made some sales and trades away from some of the Reflections 2 and 3 foils I've had. So I can live with that. The Reflections foil was more of like a pet project, but since I'm halfway there, I might as well see where that goes. If the rest of them all end up 8s, like, so be it. I think I'd probably be good. If I can find a better one later, maybe. But
yeah, or for you people that aren't doing PSA and registry, that's another topic we haven't discussed is, BGS got bought out by PSA this past month. So
yeah, that's a big point of discussion as well. How does that affect, old Beckett, new Beckett? Does this mean they're just not going to support it as much or not have to promote it as much? Now, in my experience, dealing with Beckett in some ways is better than PSA. You can get a rep or an account rep to kind of help you along. If you have questions, concerns, they're just kind of a little bit more customer centric. Now, the transparency in terms of the status of the grade and all that stuff, where it's coming, maybe PSA shows that on there, but I don't know. I feel pretty comfortable submitting to Beckett, knowing they're doing a good job with that. So I don't know how that's going to change.
Yeah, and their policies, we don't know. And for me, my complete Star Wars CCG collection, my PC is all BGS. Whenever I have anything that's PSA, it's kind of on the fun side or for registry sets, not for my PC. So I don't know what I'm going to do moving forward. Maybe I still use them and nothing changes. So I'll keep you posted as time goes on, and we'll see if there's anything to share.
Yeah, so we've also now been seeing towards the end of this year, and I'm sure, I have no doubt this year we will see more CGC slabs and tag slabs. We've already seen some slabs come back for Star Wars CCG in sales data. So some of that stuff has been moving. Nothing super significant, but it should be known it is there. And I will say that, personally, that CGC having a black label option is very appealing, because those pristine labels are actually pretty awesome. I remember we saw that Chewbacca PSA pristine 10 Cam had posted it, and he was sad that he missed that. But yeah, I'm actually surprised it went as low as it did. I think it could have gone higher, just because
for sure
CGC pristine command means if you're going to get that, it has to be 50-50 centering. It can't be 60-40 or 55-45, whatever.
It can't even be 55-45.
It's a higher tier. Like a PSA 10 could fall under a CGC 10 non-pristine. So that's why typically you see CGC 10 pristines on new cards and or Japanese Japanese modern cards, where the quality of Japanese card printing is significantly better and more consistent than English US printing for cards in general. I'm not just talking about Star Wars CCG, like Pokemon and One Piece and other trading card games. It is very clear that they do a much better job of the foil quality, the centering, the cuts on the edges. Maybe they keep their razors a little sharper, or roller cutters, whatever they use. They just do a better job. And that doesn't surprise me, given culturally Japanese people are cleaner, more organized, take more care and respect and dignity in the stuff they do. Whereas America, it's like pump, 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 pump. Get all this stuff out, right? Make money, right? So, but that, on the flip side, that makes it more interesting for something like Premier Black Border, where we know the quality is bad. So if you do get something that's really good, it's just that much more, rare, right? And I definitely see that in currency, where everything comes down to between gem mint 65 to gem mint perfect 70. The price points can be so significant because it all comes down to centering. And these could be off by a millimeter or two. They really get granular with it. Wow. Imagine a grading scale 0 to 70, right? We're just dealing in 1 to 10. Currency goes to 70. because they go in such finite detail, right? That would be maddening, and we don't need to go there. But I do have some other interesting stats, food for thought. So in 2025, there were 26.8 million cards graded, and this volume was a 32% increase over 2024. So no surprise here. PSA graded 19.26 million cards, and they had a market share of 72%. CGC graded 4.92 million with an 18% overall market share. SGC 1.42 million with a 5% overall market share. Beckett 824,000 with a 3% overall market share, and Tag with a 440,000 with a 2% overall market share. So TCG and non-sports cards accounted for the majority of submissions. 16.8 million out of that 26.8 million were TCG and non-sport cards, right? That's shift, and that's a 95% increase year over year. Let's see, submissions for sports cards decreased by 12% in 2025 to 10 million graded cards, right? And CGC really experienced the biggest growth in submissions, especially in the TCG category. So a lot of people are thinking Pokemon, but this does include other things. I think that's really interesting, right? That they kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but like they certainly jumped up and made themselves known, right? So I don't think CGC is going away. I think we're only going to see more market share go there, especially with the fact that there's some bitterness on PSA, right? With this, like, okay, send us a card, we'll store it and vault it for you, we'll sell it for you, or we'll offer you a price for it, and then we'll ship it for you. And it's like they're kind of monopolizing all this, and I think they're becoming almost so efficient and too efficient that it's like, what are we even doing? Like, you could experience, like, you could pull a card digitally, have it be at PSA, have them give you an offer or sell it, and like then they ship it. And like you never even see the card. Like it's almost commoditized to this like really sterile point where it's like, wait a second, 20, 25 years ago, people were collecting cards for like the nostalgia. Like they liked looking at the cards, right? Now it's like a commodity, like we're stock trading or something, but in like individual cards and cardboard. Like it's just kind of like, have we really like lost our way here? You know, and not to mention PSA, their turnaround times, like I just did it. I literally just have a submission box right next to me. I'm about to ship it to the mailbox. I already have 3 other orders out, right? And the average turnaround time right now is like a 95-day business.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Right? Which 95 business days, like, okay, so I send this out now. Realistically, I might not get this till like May, you know, like I'm not expecting to see it anytime soon, but that's awful in a TCG market price where things can change significantly, or you're trying to complete something. It's like, what the heck? Like you want more of that instant gratification. And that could be why people are asking for more money. I mean, grading costs alone have increased a lot. You know, I feel like over the last 2 years, like we're adding in 25, 30% to the cost just to.
And their technology has gone up too. So they've improved their technology for grading. Instead of just a guy with the jeweler's eyepiece, they're using microscopes, they're using AI. So they're using everything. And I've talked to all my sports collectors on, you know, their take on grading, because I wanted to kind of boil over to the Star Wars side. And the problem why sports cards are going down is that 95 to 120 day turnaround. By the time they get these cards out of boxes and they get them in, the season's already started. They want that stuff either as soon as the season's over. They don't want it when starts the next season, or they want it, you know, during the off season. So it's bad timing that they're getting stuff that's almost like a whole quarter or a half a year later. It's not ready for the start of the next season. So that's why sports card stuff is down. I even talked to both my sons who grade constantly. They constantly have cards out. And they're saying the same thing, that they're going to have to slow down or just do everything through SGC because their turnaround time is the quickest.
Yeah, I mean, people are thinking, oh, well, the liquidity of PSA. Well, yeah, it's liquid if you have it, but if it's 6 months later and that person gets injured or traded or they quit or something, like you're just SOL. Like you're not even you don't even get to see
Right.
the card. You don't know what's going on, and the way they dropping these boxes left and right. Typically, there's delays on some of the hot boxes and stuff, and then, like you said, season starts. So, like that's just wild. I mean, TCG does have some fluctuations, but not nearly to the degree. And I think that's why you see sports people dabble in non-sports cards
Right.
trading, because they're not seeing these insane fluctuations left and right. So I get that, but at the end of the day, I have to ask, what are we doing this for, and where is this ultimately going, to the point where is this just a commodity? Like, are we just moving pieces around this, business playground, or is this like something we actually enjoy and like what are we doing this for? I don't know. It's just something to think about. The CGC turnaround times are certainly very appealing. I think there's still some animosity with some of the, I submitted it, it got a 9, then PSA changed it to a 10 and sold it for a 10 price. Like I think there's some mistrust there. I think there's some skepticism on why is it that they're involved too much in the business end of that. Like, should they be responsible for assessing a value and then selling it and giving you a price and turning them around to resellers? There's just a lot of mistrust and questions that should be raised and asked, even outside of the insane turnaround times and the increase in cost, which is just punishing. Frankly, when I finish some of these registry sets, like I might just be like, I'm done, like I don't know, like at least taking a pause maybe on some of them. But that's really to kind of have my hands tied. I really want to complete these sets in one graded company, and I understand why they, some people are okay with mixing and matching, but most people are like, I kind of like this company, and I'm going to finish a set in this, right? It'd be one thing if I started my Japanese set all in CGC. I'd probably want the entire thing in CGC, right? Like that didn't even occur to me when I started this a long time ago. It's just like, well, here we are. So it is what it is. So, but yeah, I think the flexibility with a company like Tag is they're newer, right? They can bring in this innovation, learn from the bad things that other companies have been doing. I had heard some ideas that they wanted to implement like some sort of grading, like implementation or slabbing, like within stores, like a machine that would grade something and then slab it for you or something. This isn't something that exists, but this is stuff they've kind of talked about, of like really expediting the slab process. Like you have something, it gets hyper scanned in this special machine and can get slabbed and labeled and graded right then and there. I mean, imagine something like that in the future, where you can get something like you can go into a GameStop or card store or something and they just spit that out. I mean, is that appealing? Is that really interesting? I mean, would that give more consistency and clarity? I
don't know, because it made me think that 1 hour photo came around. It used to take weeks. We used to send off 35 millimeter film that'd take weeks to get back, and all of a sudden 1 hour photo came along. It's like, wow, what a game changer. And then all of a sudden there was no more 35 millimeter. Next technology came along and did away with any kind of process for that. So who knows,
yeah. But what's appealing is that, so PSA is such a big machine, and it's like you can't really change your grading standards and like switch things around that much, because then people are really like, well, what's worth more, the old stuff or the new stuff? Or like, how does this change it? Like, are you adding a 0.5 now? Like all that stuff just gets people like up in arms, right? But if you have something that's newer, it's like less likely to be like that. They can kind of adapt a little bit better. But the only reason like, PSA is continuing this like entrenchment is because they've inserted themselves into eBay, into like TCG Play, like all this other stuff where you can just see the instant like population reports, the data. You can buy something at that right then and there. Like they've just engrossed themselves in the payment systems, the trading systems, like all the right places. They're vaulting things. They've just purchased all these companies that like they're buying out their competitors in some of these card grading adjacent businesses, like just vaulting, right? Like there are things that just vault valuables, right? If they buy that, then they do that, right? And then they partner with, these resellers and stuff like that. So there's other deals going on like that. I don't know if the other grading companies are doing that. Probably not, to the same the same degree, if at all? And should they be doing that? Arguably, like, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good thing. I think they should just stick to grading and like keep it neutral and let the market decide what they are, as opposed to saying, well, this costs $500 to grade, so, and then we're going to offer you this amount. And that's, I guess, where the value's at. I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Yep.
But luckily, we're not really like that too far into it with Star Wars CCG. We're still relatively under the radar. I'm still hoping to hear back on some of the set requests I've put through. I don't know if any of you have put in for a set request for a set that you have a lot of graded cards for. I think you only need to prove that you have like 6 cards like towards a set or something. It might be 5 or 6, and then they can potentially start a set for it.
Right.
And if you haven't done that and you haven't seen the set you're looking for, just go ahead and do it. It might take 9 months, 10 months, but hey, you'll thank yourself if it pops in later. I know I submitted one like half a year ago. I think in September or something. But hey, it's January now. Maybe we'll see that before summer. I don't know. Because I still want to hit the enhanced Jabba's Palace and enhanced Cloud City, which I already have graded. I just want them to show up in a set so I can register them and see if other people have them, which I think they do. Tournaments, I'd love to see the 2-player stuff in there. There's some other things that I think are good entry level or competitive sets that aren't overwhelming, like trying to complete a premiere, right? That's aggressive, right? We're kind of crazy for doing that, JP. But that doesn't mean we can't compete in Jedi packs, right? I mean, 10, 12 cards, right? Like, that's a low barrier to entry if you just kind of want to have fun with it.
It is, and I pretty much know everybody that I'm competing against too, so it's kind of fun that I see a lot of people in the group are going to the registry sets, and I just enjoy seeing people's collections and what they've got. So keep going.
Yeah. So wrapping on that note, we're excited for 2026 and for the contest this month. So looking forward to that. And once again, thank you, JP. And
thank you, Kyle.
See you out there.